the guise of COVID misinformation. The left and the media cheer as if it's all long overdue. Glenn Greenwald tells us what the censorious tendencies are really about. And do you remember when being a maverick in the Senate mattered? Well, now that the mavericks reside on the left, the media is lashing out. Senator Josh Hawley responds to that. But first, how to crater the U.S. economy. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Today is National Manufacturing Day. Did you know that? And the White House issued a proclamation marking the occasion, and it mentions correctly that American manufacturing is essential to our economy. It employs over 12 million Americans directly and many more indirectly. And it noted how many manufacturing jobs were upended during the pandemic, 578,000. The proclamation also points out that these losses and other factors adversely affected our supply chains. Supply chain disruptions left our nation short of life-saving protective equipment, ventilators, and other essential health equipment at a time when we needed it most. Well, there's the rub. When we import so much of what we need and use, from steel to pharmaceuticals, plastics, computer chips, we leave ourselves susceptible to huge economic headwinds, and during COVID, it ended up being a matter of life and death. Now, Biden talks a good game about helping rebuild our supply chains and supporting American jobs and manufacturing, but his policies are having the opposite effect. Have you tried buying a refrigerator lately, a car, anything with a chip in it? Even simple parts for something like a broken lawnmower or snowblower. Imagine what the companies manufacturing these goods are going through. Take a look at the situation at the Port of Los Angeles. Dozens of tankers loaded 500,000 containers worth of goods and materials are just sitting off the coast waiting to be unloaded. Well, this is what it looks like when a labor shortage meets massive underinvestment in infrastructure. We got a lot of people sitting on the sidelines out there too. Now, they simply can't keep up with the demand. You know, if you're manufacturing something, you need the parts, you need the elements of it. So then what happens? Well, orders are slowed dramatically, some orders are canceled altogether, and then profits end up plunging. Employees are laid off or their benefits are cut. Productivity is hampered, and then economic growth, that's eventually hurt. So everybody knows what's happening, but few are willing to talk about how we got into this supply chain hole and how we can dig ourselves out of it. The hollowing out over decades of our manufacturing and industrial base is one of the main drivers of the problem. Businesses, following Washington's relaxed trade policies before Trump, offshored their operations to maximize profits by paying lower wages for labor. That's what they were able to do overseas. Now, Democrats and globalist Republicans alike cheered this as a win-win for American companies and consumers who get cheaper stuff. In fact, conservatives scoffed at those of us who warned about destroying blue-collar jobs. This column, written just 4 years ago in National Review by Kevin Williamson, is a prime example. He wrote, "One of the great enduring stupidities of modern economic life is the belief that buying American is somehow beneficial to the United States as a whole. Does Buy American create or protect American jobs? Almost certainly not." Now, it's difficult to imagine a more misguided view of things, but there you have it. So being reliant on communist China for anything critical to our survival is moronic in the short and long term. And most Americans are now coming to understand this fact. Now, Biden didn't create this supply chain problem, but his policy sure won't fix it. Watching Democrats today twist themselves into knots over their multi-trillion-dollar spending bills, how many trillions here, how many trillions there, what can we agree to? Well, we see how clueless they are about all of this.
The reconciliation bill is about the priorities that are getting funded. We obviously want child care that is universal.
We have a generational obligation, a historic obligation to address climate change, to transition from fossil fuel combustion to clean and renewable energy.
The reconciliation bill was a culmination of my service in Congress because it was about the children, the children, the children, the children.
They have no idea how wealth is created. In fact, the children know more than they do. How to build a strong middle class, how to get people back to work, how to get people to want to work again. They don't even think about what things like this mean. Why Texas is doing better than New York. Does Nancy ever think about that? Why Florida is outpacing Illinois. How about why businesses are leaving states like Massachusetts for Tennessee? That's what gun manufacturer Smith & Wesson just announced they were doing. Do the Democrats even care? It doesn't seem so. They think money grows on trees. Their answer to everything is to borrow and print more money, raise taxes, and regulate industries into the dust. We had a booming economy less than 2 years ago. We had record low unemployment. We had no inflation, and China was back on its heels. But none of those good outcomes brought us closer to the progressive political goals of discrediting capitalism, demonizing wealth creators, and encouraging Americans to become ever more dependent on the government. Biden had some decent instincts on the value of Made in America when he visited that Mack Trucks plant in Pennsylvania.
In recent years, Buy America has become a hollow promise. But my administration is going to make Buy American a reality. We'll be expanding my Made in America initiative to help cities, towns, and tribes get a better deal when they buy a Made in America product.
But his administration is being hijacked by the same globalist forces that dug the hole that we're in now. He's turning our China policy over to John Kerry, essentially. That was a very bad omen. Kerry's just a foolish globalist married to a billionaire invested heavily in China. Meanwhile, Biden's war on oil and gas is going to hurt any effort to bring back manufacturing to the United States. To do that, to bring manufacturing back, we need a dependable energy sector that absolutely must include traditional sources. Unilateral disarmament on energy, that's what those senators were talking about, that's what Kerry wants. That's only going to strengthen China's hand, be a drag on our economy. And we know the CCP will do whatever it takes to keep their factories running no matter what. As the Wall Street Journal notes, permits issued by the Interior Department for drilling on federal land declined to 171 in August from 671 in April. That's a 75% drop in permits. And liberal states are also walking the progressive plank. Just this week, the companies behind the 116-mile Penn East pipeline plan that would have brought crucial natural gas supplies to New Jersey called it quits. Why? Well, legal battles with environmental radicals, that's why, and of course the state of New Jersey. The cumulative effect